Checkmates is recorded in front of a live engineer, Lou Kellen, putting the mic check in Checkmates.
Welcome back to the Checkmates, where we take the things and the people of the stuff we love and cram it onto a chessboard. I'm Daniel Garrichter.
I'm Nick Welsh.
This week, we got something good for you. We're coming back with our musical tastes. Unlike some podcasters, we know that a lot of ours is embarrassing. So, this week, we're doing hair metal versus...
Just say, new metal.
Well, we have all the positions sorted out. We're going to do a little bit of a different format this week. Normally, we pick ours on both sides. This week, thing about us is that we grew up in different eras. Both embarrassing.
Equally embarrassing. I do feel like I got the drop on you on embarrassing now. I feel like...
With new metal?
I feel like new metal is a worse era to have grown up with it being my generation's music than hair metal.
Well, I would agree with you, except the best of new metal tends to be really good, and there's a lot of it. The best of hair metal, there's a small crop of really good ones. The rest of it is just the same wigs over and over again.
I feel fairly confident by the time you've heard my backline on new metal, you will revert that statement and realise there was very little that crept out of that sludge of depravity.
It really was a sludge.
Never before had there been a music genre where more lead singers cried in more tracks. Before, then, or after.
You know, with hair metal, it's just about how horny they are.
Okay, I'll tell you what, let's get things kicked off. Here's how I'm seeing it. Why don't you give me your king, Dan?
I went back and forth. The only answer to me, from my king, the king of hair metal, Mr. John Bon Jovi.
Mr. John Bon Steel Horsey Rides Jovi.
I eliminated a lot of bands that were big in the 70s, like Kiss, but Bon Jovi, they owned the 80s. Slippery When Wet, Cowboy, Steel Horse I Ride.
Powerful tracks.
They were very popular after the 80s, definitely. But the 80s were theirs. I've seen a million faces, and I've rocked them all.
Never was a truer statement said in music. You gotta love any band where, when you hear their music, the first thing you think of is Emilio Estevez. So I'm okay with that choice. I'm gonna hit you with my king, and
let's hear it.
Instantly I feel awful about myself. Because it's Jonathan, God Hates Me. Jonathan, all day I dream about sex. Jonathan Blind, Jonathan.
All right.
Jonathan Davis of Korn, the undisputed king of nu metal, Mr. Prozac himself. I don't know where else. I don't know who else, and I don't know where else you would place that king. It's Johnny.
There feels like there's an obvious answer. I'm sure you'll get to it. Mm-hmm. But real heads know.
Yeah, there's a close call on this one, maybe, but you know, it's all in the family.
For me, I gotta be honest with you, I was never a big Korn fan. The first time I ever heard of them was the mid-90s, and they told me these guys are the new Tool. What the hell is that?
You know whoever told you that was a Tool? Ba-ba-boom!
Absolutely.
You know, okay, alright, I'm down with that. Hit me with your queen.
We're not gonna take it. No.
We're definitely not gonna
ain't gonna take it because Dee Snider is my queen.
Because they'd previously taken it? But they weren't gonna take it anymore.
No, after that dad yelled at that kid, no. They have other songs. We're Not Gonna Take It Anymore is their pivotal song. It is an anthem of hair metal. Also, he faced down the Senate, including Al Gore, had one of the most eloquent speeches ever delivered in the Senate, basically killed the PMRC right then and there. Dee Snider.
I've got to say though, don't get me wrong, I like your choice, but I feel if Dee Snider is in your top two, then you're in trouble. Because I'm not too sure here. I'm going to tell you my queen, and I think you'll see why I'm saying I've got some big names firing here.
I know you do.
Because my queen's Fred Durst.
Yeah, he is.
And yet again, I've just drawn back the vomit from my mouth, back into my gullet, and I will walk around day and night, as long as you want, proclaiming that, hold down, $3 Bill's a good album, y'all.
No, that's not my attitude at all. I thought they were pretty embarrassing. It's just that the about face Fred Durst has had just in the last few years, headlining Lollapalooza looking like a guy from the Sabotage video, and in LA, I'm not sure if it's still going on, but the dude hosts a jazz night every week.
I can't even. Alright, listen, I'm going to have to move on from this. And I'm going to step back from embarrassment for a second and give you my first bishop.
Okay, let's hear it.
And that would be Mr. Chino Marino of Deftones.
I don't see how that can be embarrassing. Those guys rule.
Talking about possibly the only band from that era that I wouldn't be embarrassed to wear on a t-shirt today.
They've really aged well.
They have the... It's a funny thing about the Deftones. When I was in my teen years, if I had charmed you well enough back to my house, there were 3 albums that meant I was going to try and lay you.
Let's hear them.
Adore Smashing Pumpkins.
Wow.
Incubus Make Yourself.
Wow.
Or Deftones White Pony.
Okay, well, that's a great record.
And if it was Deftones White Pony, that shit was going to be intense. I kid. I lack intensity.
The lover, Nick Welsh.
Just giving it back. But yeah, fantastic band, fantastic lead singer. Once threw a guitar in a crowd, watched it smash a 15-year-old kid in the face. Wembley Arena, good times. Chino's my first bishop. Who's yours?
My first bishop is Bret Michaels of Poison.
Bret Michaels of Poison fame.
You just went through how the Deftones aren't very embarrassing. Well, let me tell you about Poison. They are really embarrassing. Poison are the kind of band where they'll look you right in the eye and say, we have a member named Ricky Rocket, and you'll go, oh, that makes sense.
You'll accept it gratefully.
They have a bunch of great tunes. I really genuinely liked them. I really like Every Rose Has Its Thorn, but they look ridiculous. They are the most typical hair metal band there is, and that's why Bret Michaels is my bishop. I haven't even gotten into his reality TV stint.
It's a band for me that are most famous for a 3-second joke in a Bill and Ted movie.
They'd be thrilled to hear that, honestly.
Okay. Well, I'll come at you with my second bishop.
Yes?
Embrace yourself. Because I've gone with Amy Lee of Evanescence.
How can you see into my eyes like open doors? How? Just how?
The fact that came off the lips in an instant is incredible.
I love that song still.
So I know, I've seen Evanescence live.
What venue?
Brixton Academy.
I hate when you say that. I guess not, eh?
Amy Lee wore at least 3 different tutus, though, so that stands out in the mind.
But like goth tutus.
One was pink.
Can still be
but
goth.
it was sandwiched between 2 black ones, so it was like a gothy sandwich of pink.
What's she up to these days? Making kids records.
It's true!
And books.
It's been for quite a few years now.
Yeah. No, she's doing pretty well
As
at
her
it.
face shrinks and her eyes grow ever larger. Sir, hit me with your last bishop.
Well, I woke up to the sound of pouring rain, washed away. I dream of you. It's Sebastian Bach of Skid Row.
It's definitely Sebastian Bach of Skid Row.
Again, kick-ass band. Barely hair metal in some ways, but in the way that he just wailed. Very much hair metal. We are the problem child. We are the youth gone wild.
It has been so long since Daniel has been a problem child or a youth gone wild.
We walk an endless mile. We are the youth gone wild. I love them, but man.
I feel like your argument for your entry here is basically just something off Guitar Tabs. Are you just going to do the entire song?
No, I'm going to mention, because my wife asked me to, that you can most recently see Sebastian Bach is in his guest role in the Gilmore Girls.
I forget how much me and your wife love the Gilmore Girls.
She has the whole DVD box set.
Okay,
That's fair.
Actually, what I'm going to do, so I'm here my first night right around now.
Let's hear
if
it.
you're looking for aggression, if you're looking for a powerhouse, I give you Mr. Corey Taylor of Slipknot.
It's always about something in Iowa.
Iowa must be a terribly devilistic avenue to be walking down.
But you reckon there's a lot of places to buy masks, right?
And goat's heads.
Sure.
I feel like goat heads are not a premium.
Again, the gimmicks are all there with them, but they absolutely rule.
I wouldn't say they weren't an embarrassing part of nu metal, but I would say they certainly stuck to their guns throughout.
They definitely were. They rose to the occasion of the times.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. Corey Taylor, Powerhouse Night, he's on there. Who's yours?
My night is, I'm going a little further away from this. I'm not going with a frontman this time, because I think if you're talking about Motley Crue, I think time has shown us that the more iconic member of Motley Crue, for a lot of controversial reasons, and a lot of large reasons, if you catch my meaning.
Prepare the beat. Giant penis.
Okay, right. Tommy Lee is the guy had a drum kit on tour that was hooked up to a roller coaster, which went around the whole arena. He was the whole show, honestly. Also the porn.
I'll tell you something, Daniel, that will definitely differentiate our age. Good use of the word there.
What word was that? To differentiate?
You were fully aware of what it meant. The first time I ever saw sex, actual sex.
Really?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was it also the first time you saw the Greek Isles?
And you got to imagine that for like an 11-year-old boy, that was very terrifying because I did not stack up well next to Tommy Lee. Side note, female listeners and male listeners, don't stack up that well these days either. And it's not getting any better.
He's trying to show me right now. It's uncomfortable.
I'm going to throw my next night at you, sir, to get the topic off of genitalia. And I'm going to give you my guiltiest of all nu metal pleasures, MCUD of Head PE.
You are just going to have to go through Head PE's history alone.
I loved MC. When I was 16, me and my girlfriend went to go see Head PE supported by, I don't know who, someone terrible, rappy, metal-y type affair.
Was it Kazzer?
And I really wish it was. It might have been Spineshank, or Taproot, or Trapped.
All of those real names of bands, folks.
And definitely the worst moment of my life was bumping into MCUD at the crowd before the gig and being like, "Hey, dude, you want to have sex with my girlfriend?" And him giggling and replying to him, "Oh, dude, what are you talking about? Dude. And I was like, "Oh my god, everything is a lie."
I didn't know you put so much stock in Head PE.
Sir, before this story gets any more insulting to previous people of late, hit me with your last night.
Oh, well, Miss Lita Ford.
Lita Ford?
Yep, I'm going somewhere else with this. Lita Ford, member of the Runaways, that's not where she came to prominence. She came to prominence with Kiss Me Once, Kiss Me Twice, Come On Pretty Baby, Kiss Me Deadly, and then one of hair metal's finest ballads with Ozzy Osbourne, If I Close My Eyes Forever. By the way, it means they'll die.
That is two solid reasons for that entry, and you're not going to find any argument from this side of the board. Now, we got to get them rooks on there. I got to ask, what did you pick?
I want to ask who you picked first.
Sir, if there was one thing that I could say was worse than nu metal itself, it was any Ibanez produced between like 97 and 2002. They had less weight to them than the musical effectiveness of nu metal itself. Drop D, naturally.
Oh, of course.
Two of those hideous things, possibly in that grey-silver colour that always appeared. You could never really tell what colour they were because the dreads were always hanging over them.
Yeah, and staining them, no doubt.
So yeah, that's my embarrassing rooks. What's yours?
Well, of course, you went with the musical instrument icon for the nu metal scene. And when I thought about mine, there's no one musical instrument that really exemplifies the hair metal scene, so I went, of course, with a can of hairspray.
Of course you went with a can of hairspray. You could have had a pair of spandex leggings, but they wouldn't look so cool on a hanger.
What was your other idea for the hair metal icon?
Another idea for the hair metal icon? Well, to be honest, and I'm a little unhappy that it didn't seem like anyone from Spinal Tap appeared in your back line, but I would say just a giant cucumber wrapped in tinfoil.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, that's another thing they all have in common.
Trouble is, from appearance, it would just be a large piece of tinfoil, and that's an in-joke beyond an in-joke.
I mean, I could go with any instrument, but there's no instrument that really symbolizes nu metal. Steve Vai, when he was in Whitesnake for a cup of coffee, had a guitar that was a quadruple guitar, where the bass was a giant heart.
Before we head on, I'll explain to Daniel what he forgot. He could have had 2 pristine orange Firebirds as those rooks, but he hasn't got the opportunity now. It's a can of hairspray. Guys, we'll see you on the next half when we'll be broaching those pawns. And I've got a heavy, powerful line.
It's gonna get obscure.
And welcome back. You've seen our backlines, which came from the very best or worst, depending on how you look at it, from hair metal and nu metal. And now it's time to broach our pawns.
Like I said, it's about to get obscure.
Maybe on your side, sir, I have a host of big names that are probably going to put your side to shame, and I'm going to kick it off right away with Mr. Chester Bennington of Linkin Park fame.
He tried so hard, and he got so far.
In the end,
yeah,
we all know. A band that were embarrassing for nu metal inside of the embarrassment of nu metal.
Yeah,
which was impressive. Nu metal fans looked down on Linkin Park fans as teeny bopper nu metalers. The whole idea of it, I look back, is absolutely vomit-inducing.
And, he's dearly departed, and people talk about them in a much more favorable way now. I was never into them.
Not a great band, but to be fair to the guy, he could sing.
They also have some bangers.
Oh, yeah, there's some big tracks, don't get me wrong. I had my dirty pleasures in a couple of them. But listen, I want to hear what your first porn is, because I doubt you've got a name as big as that.
I don't. I really don't. But in the spirit of dearly departed frontmen, I have Mr. Janny Lane of Warrant. This is probably well before your time. Does the name mean anything to you?
Not a thing, sir. I am dumbfounded. Please tell me about your black and white version of life.
They look like the Great Value version of Poison. They had 2 real big hits, as far as I remember. They had Heaven Isn't Too Far Away, which was their really, really big ballad. It's as dumb as you might think. And then they had Cherry Pie, which I don't want to get into, but I think you probably know.
I do know that. She might have
stripper anthem.
Something, sex with the minor.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my guy. He unfortunately left this world in 2011.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Janny Lane.
But we've proven a point here. Minor names. I'm going to hit you with another big porn name. I'm going to give you Mr. Serge Tankian of System of a Down.
Pick up!
Grab a brush and put a little makeup, you ugly son of a bitch. Something.
Why'd you leave the keys up on the table?
Effeminate guitarist.
You wanted to. Okay.
They did. They really did. Hey, come on, listen. They had at least 3 or 4 big tracks, and I'm not even talking about inside that genre. I mean, not too far out that genre, but big tracks. And don't tell me you don't still love a little chop suey today.
Toxicity is a classic.
Big number.
20 years old.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That means you're so much older than me.
Yeah. I've been trying to tell you that for a while.
Okay, let me hit your next porn, sir.
Alright. Again, name might not mean anything to you, but Mr. Klaus Main of the Scorpions. Here I am, rock you like a hurricane.
They will rock you like, not like a tornado. They were very specific about this.
Rock You Like a Hurricane is not only can it be used by strippers everywhere, it can also be used for air shows.
If I close my eyes and think of a strip club, yeah, it's Rock You Like a Hurricane.
Or if there's some sort of thing with military equipment and it's there for a crowd to take in, absolutely. So that's pretty much all I got to say about them, other than Winds of Change, which, you know, in addition to the stripper music, celebrated the end of the Iron Curtain. Anyway, I want to hear who your next pawn is.
A significant part of hair metal was celebrating the fall of the Iron Curtain.
Yeah, we could do a whole other podcast about that.
Oh, don't, because then we work into, like, Band-Aid, and I'm just not into that.
No, you're right. Gorky Park.
All right, I'll hit you with my next pawn, sir, and I'm going to give you the wah man of the time, Mr. David Draymond, of Disturbed.
Okay, we're back into embarrassing territory, aren't we?
Okay, I'll concede.
A little embarrassing.
A little bit. I'd also like at some point down the line to do an entire list of new metal men with no hair, but that's for another time.
Isn't that most of them?
It's a fair few.
Yeah. Or they had wigs.
Dreads versus balds. New metal exclusive board.
Wow. Feel like you're a subject matter expert there, par excellence. What's your favorite Disturbed song?
Aren't they all the same song?
No.
Down to thickness. Or something.
I like Breathe a lot.
I mean, the fact that you even have an opinion on them is kind of embarrassing. I put them in there purely because I went through Kerrang's top 21 new metal bands, and I just saw his name on the list. Side note, was the original voice for Lestat singing in Queen of the Damned. And about 2 weeks before it's released, this whole thing where they were like, oh yeah, we thought about the voices of a vampire, and we couldn't think about anyone except him because of how much vampires go, wah!
Yeah, of course.
And then it was released, and it was Jonathan Davis of Korn. Switcheroo!
Yeah, really. I guess that's why the
Which
music...
is far more in keeping with the vampire of Twilight era than Interview With. So, I'm going to ask you for your next pawn.
All right, I'm going with Here I Go Again on My Own. Going down the only road.
It's the only road.
Yeah. It's David Coverdale of Whitesnake, or if you're nasty, Coverdale Page. But
if you're just washing a car in a bikini, and there's that Firebird reference again.
Yep.
You know, you're at home.
If you've got Tawny Kitten hanging around the studio and your car's dirty. Yep. I don't know much about Whitesnake. I know they had a bunch of songs. Here I Go Again on My Own. Dude had a giant quaff.
I feel like my embarrassment is growing with how much I do know about the people on my list, because I'm about to hit you with the three faces of Foley of new metal. Mr. Jacoby Shaddix, Mr. Kobe Dick, and Mr. Dick If You're Nasty. He'll rock that mic with a voice that's raspy. I've already said all of his names, I don't know how else to introduce him. The singer of Papa Roach.
Cut my life into pieces. This is your third pawn.
Only would have been better if it hadn't have been my third pawn, because it was my fourth.
Cut my life into pieces. This is Nick's fourth pawn.
I like your persistence, sir. I like that you stood your ground on that one, and for that, I'm going to pass over to you for your next pawn.
All right. This guy, his name is Stephen Percy. Very badass sounding name. He was the front man of a band called Rat, with two T's, not one T.
R-A-T-T.
I wish they were that hard. They had a song called Round and Round. Round and round. Something, something, something every time. That was Rat. They had that song. Again, used by strippers. If anyone remembers Rat, that's what they remember. There's like 3 or 4 of their hardcore fans running around in Florida somewhere. That's Rat.
I feel like at least 50% of your band's working exclusively out of strip clubs in Burlington.
That's actually very accurate.
For anyone viewing outside of Ontario, it's a shithole.
Okay, come on. It's also probably in Oshawa.
Alright then, sir. I'm going to hit you with possibly the most embarrassing entry on my list, because I'm going with Des Favara of Coal Chamber.
Okay.
Mr. Me Loco himself.
I know I'm supposed to like those guys, but I don't know anything
Why
about
in
them.
the world would you have to like those guys, sir?
I don't know. The name sounds more respectable than most new metal acts.
Coal Chamber for me will always be the tag-alongs to Korn. Korn Light.
That's a pretty good label.
However, I do find that right now, again with this being 2021, I find myself wearing masks. Occasionally I do find myself bellowing Me Loco in large areas and hoping that no one knows it's me.
And that is a Coal Chamber song.
Me Loco! Me Loco! Oh, no, but it gets better because then it goes up an octave. Me Loco! Me Loco! And that ends my entry for that porn, sir!
Holy hell.
You're gonna have to work hard to top that one.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go with Tracy Guns of LA Guns. Metal band from LA, as you would expect. A few of the things I can tell you about LA Guns is that Tracy Guns was in Guns N' Roses before they hit it big.
Oh, that's a big loss.
I know. They have a bunch of... They have Never Enough, Rip and Tear, Crystallize. They were... And I'm not something that crystallizes, but, crystal eyes. You see, it's got double entendre.
I'm ready for the mashup of Bush's Glycerin next to Crystallized.
Let's make it happen.
We could.
We're learning how to use GarageBand. How hard could this be?
We should scrap this entire project and go back to the music mixes of the mid-2000s. I'm going to jump at you, sir, with my next porn.
Okay.
A man stands 7 foot tall with hair and probably 5'2" without.
Mr.
Marge Simpson. Mr. Wayne Static of Static X.
Okay. There's a thing about Static X that some people know that we probably shouldn't just get into. One of the members is in jail, I think, for some not great stuff.
There's some unpleasantries we're not going to dive into a daytime show like this. But a band that, to be quite honest, existed for one song for me, which was I'm With Stupid, which is very similar to most... use a lot of hair products. Yeah.
But you wouldn't know, because they had dreads too, right?
I don't think so. I remember the bass player being distinctly looking an awful lot like Jim the Anvil Nineheart, if I remember correct.
That is quite an iconic look. Would it be safe to say that at least one of their songs has appeared on the soundtrack for a Need to Speed game?
It's possible. What I will say is that the second reference today to Queen of the Damned with one of their worst songs, Cold and So Cold. We are terrible. Moving on. Give me your next point.
Okay, I'm sticking local this time, and I'm going for our second lady on the list. Her name is Lee Aaron, of Lee Aaron. She was, I don't know of any bands she was in.
Give me one song so at least I could have something.
I can give you 2 songs.
Okay.
In the mid-'80s, she had a song called Metal Queen, which is about how she was the queen of metal.
Okay.
You see, she took the imagery of all the metal bands of the time and made herself a giant chainmail bra-looking thing, and she dressed up like a gladiator and took on enormous snakes in those videos. And then her other song from a little later in the 80s, What Ya Do To My Body, it's sex.
I'm impressed at the levels of obscurity that you're going to here, but more enamored with your description of the song. Reminds me of the film Heavy Metal.
Ah, yes.
You know the cartoon with all the giant beasts and everything? It's fucking I
I have a really good story about that. I almost bought the DVD once, and then I didn't.
That, sir, is the most entertaining anecdote I've ever heard. I wish we'd have done it around a table of steaks and wine.
Okay, alright. So we got 2 pawns left, if I'm not mistaken?
It is 2 pawns left, and I'm going to hit you with another bold entry from the new metal side. Mr. Aaron Lewis of Stained.
Oh.
A man whose only memorable moment was sharing a stage with Fred Durst while he acoustically ran through an open E heartbreak of misery that didn't belong to a man of his 48-year-old stature.
he look that old.
Don't laugh. He's on the outside. He's looking in.
He can see through me. He can see through the real me.
Exactly.
That man could have had anybody join him. It was like he was on a group tour.
And then, if I remember correctly, it was... And then Fred would drop in with, Nookie. Nookie.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. You do know that he's a country musician now, right?
After the whole Fred Durst revelation, I'm not in the least bit surprised.
Yeah, he switched over to country about 5-6 years ago.
Of course he did.
It's a lot of it is
he
about
must
guns.
be 74 by now. Previously mentioned. Sir, I'm looking at your penultimate porn.
Okay, I am going with a man named Jesse James Dupree. I know one person in my life who would know who I'm even talking about. He is from a band called Jackal. They are known for I'm to understand two things. The big thing is the song The Lumberjack, in which he plays a chainsaw solo.
It's on repeat on my iPod.
Don't lie to me.
I'm lying to you.
They were listed on the second or third or 18th stage at Woodstock 2. Really what that was the 90s working out the last of its hair metal problem. Live on stage. So yeah, that's what I got.
I can see you planning on wrapping things up with a bang.
Well, hair metal is about spectacle, and there is no dumber a spectacle than a chainsaw solo.
Okay, so I actually, and this is where the depth of field comes into my one, I struggled with my last choice. Because I had two women in mind. I had Mrs. I don't remember if I pronounce this properly, Taria B. of My Ruin.
Okay.
Gorgeous in photos, absolute powerhouse in the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
But I eventually went with Morgan Lander of Kitty.
Awesome. Local girls.
Are they from here?
Yeah, they're from Hamilton.
I did not know that, but it becomes so very obvious when you listen to their low-rent quality sound.
Hey, excuse me.
Did they ever do a duet with Avril Lavigne, or was that not something that never came around?
They're from totally different towns. You need to stop this.
I just moved from a town that was about, 60 kilometers from Avril Lavigne's hometown.
Yes, and that is the only claim to fame they have. That and a couple of Tim Hortons.
That and I could do the entire song, but that was more or less it.
They were pretty good, and yeah, we were kind of cheerleaders for them.
I mean, I think you're being a tad generous there with the musical offerings of Kitty. But, I appreciate you trying to divert from your own terrible choices by backing mine. I'm ready for your last porn.
Yeah, my last one was also a bit of a debate. I wanted to go with a Nuno Betancourt of Extreme. You could argue that they're hair metal, you could argue that they aren't hair metal, but who I'm going with is going to throw y'all for a pretty big loop.
Oh my god, hold on, people.
Oh yeah, it's coming. I'm going with Justin Hawkins of The Darkness.
I have never been more angry at you in my life.
Is it because it's not hair metal, or is it because it's going off the rails?
I think you'll find it has more to do with nationality, sir.
Oh.
As an Englishman, I have an exceptionally bad set of teeth. Now, the viewers at home aren't privy to this, but they are horrendous.
His teeth are fine.
Sometimes when I talk to people, I put my hand in front of my mouth, and for this man to flaunt them, it's
they are awful.
It is a contest to see who would win in a donkey chew-off between him and Dave Grohl. For that reason alone, I can't, and the fact that he has some of the least appealing chest hair in the world, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate a good spatter in a chest hair. He hasn't got it.
It's like, it looks like fleece.
It looks like patchy fleece. It looks like someone started to lay AstroTurf, gave up, and sprayed the rest in with a can of instant hair.
Okay, but let's talk about how they're good. In the one video for I Believe in a Thing Called Love, other hair metal bands, some things are dicks, but in I Believe in a Thing Called Love, everything is a dick. The whole video, every single thing in every frame of that video, it's a dick. That's dedication to the craft. Also, I saw them for $1.50 once.
$1.50, and you felt ripped off for 75 cents.
Yes.
And also, I have to appreciate maybe one of the only people you put on the list that strippers won't be dancing to.
I feel like that song is probably on in some strip clubs. Maybe the more hipster ones, you know?
Here's the difference between you and me. The people that are still dancing to my new metal tracks are people I still want to sleep with.
Oh, I see.
You don't want to go anywhere near the 70-year-old crop tops that you're going to have to deal with.
You know what? You're being out of line right now. I'm not 70. I'm like 2/3 the way there, but so.
I'm saying 70 is the age at which you could probably still get some. Guys, it has been an exciting battle as we head down this path. It's been me versus him. It's been embarrassing defeat for him and glorious victory for myself. I expect the comments to reflect as much. But from me, Nick Welsh.
And from me, Daniel Garrichter.
I'll check you later.